All right, so welcome back to another edition of bringing our print stories to life with our cover features. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with Jill Rudler, our May 2025 Columbus Real Producers cover feature and story. So fun fact, Miss Jill was our very first cover story in, was it August of 2016? I don't know the month exactly, I think ish, when Bobby Wright brought Real Producers to Columbus before we were even really a substantial brand. So he brings this idea, second city to launch the concept, to Columbus, and somehow convinced Jill to be our very first cover feature and story. And oh my goodness, have we come a long way. So to have her and retell her story at this season in your life was such a privilege and an honor. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So Jill, what I love, one of the focuses that we have here at Real Producers Columbus in particular is I'm so passionate about the personal story of your success and who you are. So a lot of times people, know the name of who we're featuring, but the personal story is it's what defines us at the end of the day. So I loved getting to know you more. I read a lot of things that I did not know about you. So we're going to start kind of at the beginning. So your mom was a broker. And you grew up in, am I saying this correctly? Conneaut, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Whereabouts is that?
It's right on Lake Erie and the Pennsylvania border. So it's the last city before you leave going into Pennsylvania on the lake.
Wow, how lovely. Okay, so your mom was a real estate broker and your father was an inspector for a railroad.
Yes, he drove 70 miles to work every day. And my mom was the very first female broker in our county. And the first person to have two offices in the same county.
That's incredible. Well, knowing that, I can see some similarities in terms of determination and vision and being a pioneer based on your career.
Yeah, she really did set the stage for me as far as nothing stands in the way. You just keep going and you keep doing the right thing for your clients, for all the people around you, and you always win and your clients always win. So it was just, it's just such a basic business as far as just doing the right thing, being in relationships with people. And it's just, even the hard times in real estate have really been wonderful because I've been able to help so many people.
So I've realized or learned that you have 4 siblings. May I ask where you fall in the line of that sibling?
Sure. I'm the middle child. And it's bookend by boys. So my oldest brother and my youngest brother are boys. And I have an older sister and a younger sister. So I am literally the middle of the middle. And I've always taken advantage of that. I've always, made sure, at one point my mom gave me a Christmas ornament saying middle child, favorite child. So I pushed it a little bit with her, but we are all, really close and it's really nice to, have siblings. And especially now that my parents are both gone and, it's up to, us to stay together as a family. And so we're working hard at doing that.
I love how we started the story out. An icon in the Central Ohio real estate market for almost 4 decades, Jill is writing a new chapter in her successful career. So before I kind of get into that piece of the story, I do want to start or re-mention, speaking of your mother, that you started your real estate career in June 1978 at your mother's brokerage. We have to mention her, Miss Joan Curtis Realty in Conneaut. The same year that you joined her firm, you opened a branch office of Joan Curtis Realty in Ashtabula.
Yes. So she wanted to open a branch office, and I was brand new. I was just turning 21. But nothing stopped me. I would not let anything get in the way. So she said, would you like to do this? And I'm like, sure. So I hired 20 agents And
At 21.
at 21. And they
Jill.
were all, of course, older than me.
Yes.
But, they respected me because I had the knowledge. And, I've carried that through because my stature is a little short. And so I walk into a lot of homes and people look at me like, oh, I thought you'd be taller. And I get that a lot. And what I found is that in 5 minutes, they were like mesmerized because I would be able to convey the knowledge and the things that they needed from me. Because that's what they are looking for when, you're going to list a home. It's about the knowledge you bring to the table.
So do you feel at that young age, just from witnessing your mom's work and being kind of in the industry, that was something that came
It came
just
natural.
from observation?
Sure. It came pretty natural to me to be a leader, whether as a leader of, a team, a leader of your clients, to take the responsibility, because that's what it is. It's a big responsibility to lead others. And I've always enjoyed doing that, especially my clients.
So, in terms of this next season of your life, in August 2024, you merged your business with the Re-Equity Group at Keller Williams Capital Partners. This move continues to give you flexibility working in the industry that you love while making more space for your interests outside of real estate. So kind of talk to us about that.
Katie, I spent a lot of years just working, and I loved
Yeah.
every minute of it. But I got to a point where, especially about maybe 10, 12 years ago, when I took my first sabbatical, I decided I needed to take some time away. So I had a great team. And so I took 7 weeks and I went and walked the Camino for the first time. And that was pretty exciting because I stepped out. I never hiked before. I never went to Europe by myself before. I never, there's a lot of first times in that for me. And so it was really, really enjoyable to meet people who are lifelong friends now. I mean, I've made friends 12 years ago, and I still love visiting them every year. And they're like my Spanish family. So, but the culture too, to learn different areas and the culture in those areas, it's just like it opens your eyes to the possibilities of, what exists in the world that, we live in a little bubble.
Yes.
And whether it's poverty or it's just, some places I was in Paris this year and it was, amazing, but it's not the reality that you see around the world mostly.
Yeah. Before we kind of continue on that same path, I want to take us back to when you opened the branch for your mom in Ashtabula. So 9 years later, you moved to Columbus and began working at Real Living HER, where you became the company's top agent. What brought you to Columbus?
I looked at big cities because in 1978, when I started, the market was pretty good. But then we went through a savings and loan crisis, a lot of different things that happened in the economy. And so I looked at, I knew I had to move somewhere because the economy in our town, a lot of the industry was leaving.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would look in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Cleveland was a little close because it was about 70 miles away, but it was just, it didn't feel right to me. So then I went to Cincinnati and it was really nice, but I settled on Columbus because it was young, it was vibrant. I was 30 years old at the time and I just fit right in, and I walked down the streets in Westerville and people would say hi. And I was like, wow, I like this community.
Yes.
It's a beautiful area. It's growing. I got involved in the Chamber of Commerce and found that they were really planning a lot of growth. And I thought this is a good place for me to be.
And you helped open Keller Williams open Keller Williams Excel Realty office in 2012. And this was a fascinating statistic to me. After selling nearly 6,000 homes and achieving an average 200 listings annually at your peak, this is when you kind of, again, we're walking years and years out here, but once you've dedicated your life to your business, you have built a book of business. So real estate is no different. Being a successful agent, you've you're an entrepreneur and you have a book of business, and it's so hard to just walk away from, 30, 40 years of reaping those relationships. What do you do next? So I love this conversation of finding the right fit to work with a group of individuals that will care for the clients just as much as you do and care for your business just as much. So kind of talk to me how you arrived at whom you would speak to and what you did next.
I think I was looking, especially my primary thought was working with a team that Jack could actually go in
Yes.
and do what he's done so well for the last 32
Yes.
years. For me, he is, he's run my business, he's negotiated the contracts, he's prepared CMA, so he's analyzed a lot of the pricing for me. He's helped me with the whole process all the way through, as well as the buyer's agents that work for me. He
Yeah.
managed the buyer's agent
Wow.
and helped them with all their transactions. So he has a lot of knowledge, probably more so than probably anyone I know.
Mhm.
Agents that are out there doing it on their own do not do all the things that he did.
Mhm.
So that was my primary. He's 11 years younger than me. He is my brother. And he is, I named
So
him.
is he the baby?
He's the baby.
Okay.
So I did name him. So yes,
Really?
I came up with the idea of having a Jack and
Jack
Jill.
and Jill.
But I was 11 years old, so at that time it sounded really, really good because my sister's name's Bonnie, and she wanted to name him Clyde. And my mom decided that no, I think
What
we'll
a
name
great
him Jack.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how he got named. And so when he came to Columbus after graduating, he went on his own for a few years in real estate. And he was getting married. And I said, I need you in my office. I need to double myself. I can't be out of the office and handling all the things you have to in the office. So
Yeah.
as I did that, my business grew. And I just kept hiring more people to get my life back. And my business continued to grow as I did that. So
He's been with you from
since
the start.
93.
Wow.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So he's negotiated, thousands and thousands, probably more than 10,000 because a lot of times you have
Yeah.
multiple offers.
Yes.
You have offers that fall through.
Yes.
And, so yeah, he's really the expert in our team.
Well, and I see that he's now your director of operations. And then Mr. Brian Kemp, so incredibly well respected, co-founder, Love Taylor, co-founder, and then you've got COO Zach. Yes. So an incredible group of individuals, well respected, very knowledgeable. It's like a dream team.
It is for me.
Truly.
I mean, after looking at everyone, I was saving Brian for the last because I've known Brian for over 30 years. He's been a friend. He's helped me during a lot of times when I just needed some advice and help, and he's been great. He's always been there for me.
Yeah.
But he also does business the same way I do. And that's, how he built his team and how he really, he's not clingy to, thinking that no one else can do it like he can do it. So he's willing to share the responsibility with others. And so I looked at them and I said, okay, Brian is probably 10 years younger than me. I'm not exactly sure, but his team are much younger, but they're so smart.
Yes.
And I thought, this is
very
great.
driven
This
too.
is a future. This is a future for Jack. This is a future for my clients to make sure they're in good hands. I mean, my goal now is to continue to do what I do, the part I do, and then Jack and the team handle a lot of the things that they handled for me when I had my own team. So it just opened up an opportunity for me to step back from management, to step back from running the business and financing the business. So now I can just spend time with my clients, which is the part I love.
Yes. It's a beautiful template for someone to recreate after building such a successful business, and now you're in a season where you can just simply do the things that you're the best at and that you love.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Katie, the thing I really enjoy is that I get calls from people. I've probably got 3 or 4 this year already from people I sold homes to 30 and 35 years ago. And they're calling saying, Jill, time for us to sell. And,
Gives me chills.
and
Yeah.
they're,
You've grown up together.
yes,
Like,
they're my friends, and
yeah.
they don't think twice about who's going to sell their home, and so I want to be able to be there for those clients.
Yeah.
And I can do this for a long time. People either
Yes.
they work till they're 100 or they retire early and walk away from their business. And I don't want to do either
Yes.
one of those.
Yes.
I think I can do this for a long time. Although this is my, I think 47th year in the business. Uh, I, I love what I do. I feel like I could do this for a long time.
Yeah.
As long as Jack and the team are behind me, then I can continue to give the same service I gave over the last, almost 40 years here in Columbus.
It's beautiful. Okay, so let's pick up. Your story is so fascinating, and there are so many things to cover, but we have to mention, and I was hoping for a photo of your little baby Jade, your Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. She's white and brown and the most adorable thing. And I remember when you got her.
She's
Is
such
she
a little puppy.
3, 4 now?
She's 3.5. Yes.
Okay.
She's 3.5, and she was 3 pounds when I got her. She was 11 weeks old, and so she and I have been, best of friends. And
2 peas in a pod. Yeah.
yeah, she goes to daycare every day. So, and when I do travel, my friend who takes her every day, she takes her and keeps her for last year was 2 months. So I have a very high trust level for she's going to be taken care of the way I want her to be.
Yeah.
So,
September 2024, after your merger with ReEquity Group was finalized, you set out to walk Camino de Santiago, known as the Way of St. James in English, pilgrimage route. Please tell us about that.
Okay. It was my second time to walk that. I decided to walk this time because my sister retired. She had always wanted to do it after I did it the first time back in 2013. And so I said, okay, if you're sure you want to do this, sit down. We're going to book flights. So I booked a flight for her birthday, August 27th, and we went to Paris, and I booked it back home from Paris, October 29th. So we were gone 64 days. And during that time, we spent a little time, kind of just getting her unwound from working. And then when we, after a few days in Paris and touring like any tourist, we went to, I took a train to Saint John Pied de Port, France, which is the very southern border of France. And it's about an hour away from Pamplona by car. And so that's where we started our Camino. And it's a teeny little place, but it's bustling with all the pilgrims that are starting out their walk. And you're starting in the foothills of the Pyrenees. So the first day, we actually, in 6 hours, we climbed 3,000 feet. So we're going up, 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 up. And that's a very strenuous start. But we continued, every day I think we walked 35 days and we took about 4 days of rest during the time. So,
wow.
Yeah, we were gone about 40 days on that pilgrimage.
Along this route, are there, places to stay for it?
Yeah. Katie, you're going through cities and you're going through villages and you're going through hamlets. You're walking through the forest. You're walking through vineyards. You're walking, sometimes along a highway. So this pilgrimage has been walked for over 1,000 years. So it's something that, highways have come in next to the route because it was a good place to put a highway.
Yes.
But generally speaking, it's just, every day is a new experience. Every day.
Well, and the people you must meet along the way.
Incredible. We have this time I met a I mean, so many wonderful couples that we're still in contact with. One, we're going back in September, walking the Portuguese way. And one of the couples are going with us, and they're from New York, and they're a retired couple. And he's an attorney, and she was a school teacher, and they were just lovely to walk
Chill.
with. So I was a little slow because of my knee surgeries the
Yes.
prior year. So
Yes.
they would take turns walking with me and walking with Sarah. So it was really it's just amazing the people, and then the people in the little villages that you meet, the
Sure.
people at
Sure.
the hotels and albergues, and I always stayed in a private room um with my own bathroom. So, I'm not one to go into a big room with 28 people and sleep, um,
I can
but a lot of
relate to
people do
that. I
that.
can relate to that.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people carry all their baggage, but I chose to have it couriered every day, my luggage couriered, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Fascinating. Excuse my ignorance. Would you share with me a little bit about the significance of this pilgrimage?
Yes, this is where Saint James the
Mm.
Great, ashes are and bones are interned in Santiago de Compostela, which is the cathedral in Santiago. So this is the route that was taken for his pilgrimage when he was preaching, and so this is the route that started, I think, in 1000 some. I forget what year,
Sure.
1064 or something like that. And so it's been walked for this many years. But it's been off and on. There's been many years it wasn't walked very much. But then in 2010,
Mhm.
there was a movie called The Way that came out at the theater. And actually, Brian Kemp told me to watch it because I was flying to DC for a meeting. And he said, "Oh, download this movie." So I downloaded it, I watched it, and the next day, I was in a meeting with 500 women, and um, the instructor of the class, she said, "Write down 3 things you wanna do before you die." So one of them was I wrote down, "I'm gonna walk the Camino." So she said, "By the way, let me tell you what mine are." And the first thing on her list was the Camino.
You're
I don't think
kidding.
anyone else in that room could have
Oh,
had
I
that.
just have chills.
So I thought, this is it. This is a sign. I think I need to do this. So I scheduled it. And well, she wanted us to put down when we were going to do it. So
Sure.
it was May of 2012. So I put down September of 2013, thinking I'd need some time to get myself in shape and, do the research because I'd never hiked before. I had no idea.
No idea.
And so I just started preparing like I prepare anything else.
Yeah.
I just started working on what am I going to do? What do I have to know? It's just the kindness of others that helps you get through a lot of
Mhm.
your first time
Mhm.
events. There's a lot of first time events I've had in my life, but that was definitely something that was very spiritual for me. You go through the history in northern Spain and the cathedrals and just the people that you meet. I mean, there's so many different things you could point to that are like significant.
Yeah, sincerely. And how that would shape you internally. I mean, I don't think you could be the same after doing something like
No,
that.
and Katie, that's just it. You're not the same person. I came back with a whole different attitude.
Mhm.
I still, you know, care just as deeply about my clients and my family and friends. But I also just got the bug of like, there's so much of the world to see, so many
Yes.
places to go and things to do. And, just not letting it stop me that I was, going by myself.
Yes.
Um, and then meeting the Spanish family, I go back and visit them every year except during COVID. And it was wonderful because, it's just, I don't, they speak some English. I don't speak a lot of Spanish. I understand what they're saying. I
Yes.
can't really speak it very well, but, you know, y- I just live life with them. They went to weddings and funerals and, they went to the grocery store and we went out touring and it was really nice to be a Spanish
Yes,
person,
yes,
not
yes.
just
And
a
really live it.
really live the
Live the
life.
life.
Yes.
Well, no, I love so in her story, we have some photos from the pilgrimage, and she sent us so many wonderful photos. It was so hard to just select a handful to fit in the story, but I love that we included that so very much. So, what are some travel goals that you have coming up in the next year?
Well, this year, just last weekend, I was on the phone with my sister. We were planning our Portuguese Camino. So we're going to
Mm,
fly to Lisbon and take a train to Fatima, which is a very spiritual
mm,
place for Catholics. I'm not
yes.
Catholic, but I like to go to the places that are, really special. And then we'll go on to Porto and start our pilgrimage in Porto and walk to Santiago. So we'll be through the coastal route, which takes us along the Atlantic Ocean. So it should be beautiful. Then
Yes.
there's a part of it that goes through a spiritual route as well. So
Mm,
that I'm looking forward to. And then after we get to Santiago and spend a day or two, we'll go on to Finisterre, which is back to in Spain, but back to the Atlantic Ocean, which Finisterre means the end of the earth. It's the finish of the earth, Finisterre.
wow.
And then we'll go to Muxia, which is really very special. It's got big rocks. Sarah and I went there last year on a bus and decided that we really wanted to walk, but we didn't have enough days last year to do it. So it's going to take 6 extra days. So we'll walk a total of about 375 kilometers
Goodness.
total, but we'll have about 3 weeks to do that. So
Mhm.
we have plenty of time. We'll spend the month of September.
I have to ask, did you have moments on your last pilgrimage where do you have moments where you wonder if you can continue?
This time I did. The first time it wasn't um, as difficult. 2013, I was younger. I didn't have
Yeah, 10
6 knee
years.
surgeries,
Mhm. Right.
and I've had 2 foot surgeries, 6 knee surgeries, back surgeries. So, and
Yes.
I'm older,
Yes,
so
yes.
it is a little more complicated. But I always knew that I could get in a taxi and taxi to the next city, which I did have to do a few times. I strained a muscle in the back of
Mhm.
my one knee because it just wasn't strong enough yet. But it gave my sister an opportunity to spend more time with other people, get to know them better, have her own experience instead of just having one with me.
You mentioned at the end of the walk, reaching the walk's endpoint, the cathedral in Santiago it's an emotional high. You were thrilled you could do that with your sister. What was that experience like with her
Well,
in your relationship?
it was exactly the way it was for me, the first time I walked it. The second time, not so much because I was, really trying to see
Yeah,
how
kinda
she
living
would
it.
enjoy it as much, and so the last day I was the only day that I said, "We need to walk together." So we walked the entire last day together, and, walking in, I tried to get my camera out, my phone out to take a picture because it's you're walking through um, a building with a big arch, and as you're walking into it, there's an accordion player playing and, or actually it was a bagpipe, and it
Yeah.
was so you get this excitement, and then you walk in and you see this phenomenal cathedral and this huge square and all the pilgrims in there, and they're just
Oh, yeah, everyone has the same kind of
very, very emotional. So it was fun, though. It was one of those things. I was so glad to be there with her and experiencing with her. I think the second time you do something, it's never the same as the first time, but um, I really, really enjoyed
Mm.
watching her and being with her.
Yeah, for sure. Anything kind of you'd like to wrap up the conversation with, or anything that we've missed? I mean, you and I could talk for hours, I think, but it's just been so incredible to be an observer. I've been in the real estate space for this is my 14th year, an observer of your business and your reputation and the integrity that your name holds, and to see you sincerely in this next season, and just still how your business is thriving and how you're thriving in life. It's such an honor to share it with the community.
Well, you mentioned I was the first issue, and Bobby, I couldn't say no. Bobby's one of those people,
Yes,
no matter what,
Bobby,
you
you know what
cannot
we're talking
yeah, you
about.
cannot
Yes.
say no to
No.
Bobby because
So charming and
he's
just
yeah,
yeah.
he just, it was a request, and I, of course, not comfortable with this kinda thing, but I thought, "Okay, I'll do it." But it was, it's been interesting, the different seasons, when you're new and when you're
Yes.
starting to kind of get things together, and then when you're starting to get just everything's rolling. And then, there's a point where you have to step back and say, "How can I help others?" And so one of the
Mhm.
things that I was excited about in working with Brian and his team at the ReEquity Group is not just what Jack could provide for that team, but the guidance I could give. And I'm at a point
Yes.
where I love doing that. I love going in and helping with what my expertise is the listings. So, helping create
Yes.
strategies and pricing,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and just guiding these young realtors to help them with you know the process.
So important, Jill. It's so important. And I, I've been in this long enough to know that experience matters and a new vision and outlook matter too. And so marrying the two types of agents is so incredibly important. Our community needs experienced agents to help guide them with a sincere strategy, with a listing in particular. Yeah.
And that's where, in spending the last 10 or years or so thinking about what is next, what can
Mhm.
I do to contribute? How can I continue to help people? And yet, how can I step back and do some of the things that
Mm.
I've enjoyed through the years, and to spend time with my family? Like I said, it's like
Yes.
I worked a lot, and um, I just really want to spend time and just, really downtime, not, when Jack and I are at work, we're definitely business people. And when we're out of work, we're just family, and it's a whole
I
different
love that.
experience. But, especially
I
after
love that.
over 30 years of working together.
Well, and we've not touched on all of the ways that you've been involved in the community. WCR past president,
Yeah.
to name one of many, many, many things you've been involved in the real estate community. Not
Yes. And
just an agent, but very involved.
right.
Yeah.
I've tried to be really involved in other things over the last probably 20 years.
Hmm.
Um, and that has been really fun too, because it has given me a little outlet, um,
Yeah.
other than just working all the time. But you know, I I think homeownership is so important,
Mm.
and if I can continue to
Yes.
help in the legislative end of that, I try to
Hmm.
help through Ohio Realtors, Columbus Realtors,
Yes.
and again, just to try to be a leader in the community, and where even with my friends, to,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
be that voice that helps them get through some of their tough times.
Yeah. Well, how fortunate Columbus is that you chose this city all those years ago. We are a better community because of you.
Well, thank you.
So,
I just, anybody can do what I did. It doesn't take a special talent. It just takes dedication to
mm,
what you're doing, and a work ethic. That you care about your clients enough that they become the most important thing at that moment that you're with them.
yes, yes. Well, thank you, Jill. It's been a privilege to talk to you and an honor.
Well, thank you.
And oh, my pleasure.
I do love working with you. I mean, you're so fun to be around. I really enjoy, the positive impact you've made on the real estate market.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we'll see you next month when we interview our next cover feature for Real Producers.